Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Club. I'm Graham.
And I'm George.
All right, so George, just recently we had the Tokyo Game Show. It was an absolute blast. Of course, the highlight was playing Dragon's Dogma 2, absolutely without a doubt. But there was one other game that was a huge surprise for me when I got there, and I think for everyone that was watching the stream, because once I sat down and played the game, I was absolutely blown away. Initially, I was drawn there because of cute anime girls, but
of course,
for sure. But once you can get me sitting down and in the door and starting to play, then the way that you're gonna keep me there is by having excellent gameplay. And so, I'm a hard man to please. This game was amazing. And of course, the game we're talking about is Yasha: Legends of the Demon Blade. So Yasha is developed by a small company in Taiwan. They're like a pretty small studio, and they've made a lot of like mobile games before. They haven't made any like really big, fully fledged games. And now this game doesn't seem like it's huge, but it does at least seem like a real video game. At least when I played it. You look at it initially, it does kind of look like a mobile game, and to be fair, they've made a lot of mobile stuff before, so it's not a terrible comparison. But straight up, full on, this is a fantastic video game. They absolutely sold me on the gameplay, and I seriously think that people are way sleeping on this, probably because they haven't even heard of it, but seriously, people are sleeping on this game.
Yeah, the game is criminally underreported. Like, there's like not a lot of stuff of it on YouTube. There's like a few articles of it on the internet just as a whole. I'm not entirely sure why, because the game looks fantastic. Like you said, when we were all watching it on the stream, it just captivated the attention of everyone that was watching. It, like, one of the bosses there's this snake boss, and it looks like it could be straight out of a Zelda game. And that was what initially caught my eye, because like I was watching, trying to entertain the stream and do all this stuff. Then I'm like, oh, this boss looks great. And then just like the move sets of the characters and just kind of how she zooms around, like it looks sharp, it looks precise, it looks really good. And just from an art perspective as well, it looks really beautiful. Like that's the best way I can describe the game. It's a beautiful looking game in the art department.
Going back to like the gameplay was amazing. It was really tight. Dodging felt amazing. There was iframes. There's even like a charge counter you can do where you like sheath your weapon and you can like hold it and release it at the right time to counter enemy hits. And then it gives you like a special ability on top of that once you get those counters down. The boss was like made around these kind of things. So there were things you had to iframe through. There were things that you could counter. It felt amazing. The general enemies felt pretty good. They were like fun to engage with and kill. But the boss honestly felt amazing. And it actually like a little bit felt like if you could bring out a Dragalia Lost 2 with like proper controller controls, this is basically what I would expect for Dragalia Lost 2 or something like that. Like it felt so freaking good. The boss mechanics were really fun, super engaging, and if this is just like the beginning of what they have to offer, this game is seriously going to be amazing.
Yeah, like there's supposed to be 3 different characters that you can play with. There's a samurai girl, I don't remember what her name is, but there's Shigure, yes. Then there's also some Oni girl and some cool looking, like really ferocious tiger dude that looks pretty sick. And yeah, like I wonder what their different play styles are going to be like. One thing that I've said multiple times already, and I'll continue to say, because I really like kind of the theme and the role-playing element behind it, is that it looks like to switch your move sets and to switch the attacks that you can do, you have to kind of switch the blade that you're using. I personally really like that. I know that's not a big drawing point for a lot of people and not a big, huge point of interest, but for me personally, it's something that I look for a lot. Just kind of themes behind why your character is doing what they're doing. But then the tiger dude, he looks like a really kind of, in one of the trailers, he's just kind of stoically meditating as like the enemies come up behind him, and in a very anime-esque style, he like, you know, pops up and then like defeats them and everything. But he looks super cool. I know the Oni girl's probably your favorite character out of all 3.
Dude, she's so cute. I can't.
Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed that was Graham's favorite character? But yeah, like they just, all the characters look super good. Game just looks super refined. Everything seems to have like an intent behind it. and it looks so responsive as well. Like I'm sure you could attest to this because you're the one that actually played it, but just even from just watching it, I could tell that it was like a very responsive game. And that's, one of the hallmarks of a quality game, how responsive it feels and how snappy it is when you're doing your moves.
There was like nobody playing this game at the Tokyo Game Show. They had a big booth. It was really pretty. I'll put up some footage of what the booth looked like from the stream. It looks so freaking good. They had people dressed up in like Shrine Girl outfits and stuff like that. It was awesome. Nobody, like almost nobody at all was playing this game. Every time I saw it, half of the chairs were open. There was at least like, I don't know, 5-ish spots to play the game, and there was never a line. The first time I went there, I was thinking, okay, this game must not be very good. It looks kind of mobley. It's probably garbage. No one's playing it. So, but the Oni girl here, she's pretty cute, and it looks okay. Maybe I'll try it. I sat down and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is like 100 times better than I expected. This is crazy. And I played a decent amount of games at the Tokyo Game Show. This game was absolutely one of like maybe top 3 at the whole Tokyo Game Show that I played. So honestly, it was so impressive. And I was shocked that more people were not playing this game. It was nuts.
Yeah, like I don't know why this game isn't talked about more. It should. Everything that I read on the Steam page, I'm like, okay, that checks a box for me. That checks another box for me. Like, I guess the 3 characters are going to have 3 different stories, which is super cool. 3 different ways to play the game, 3 different perspectives, 3 different styles, because I'm assuming they're all going to have their different styles of gameplay. At least that's what I gather from some of the trailer and promotional footage that they've released. They look to have very distinct play styles from each other. We'll have to see how that actually plays out in game.
I would be very surprised if the samurai girl played the same as the giant furry with the bow. So yeah, I would assume it's probably pretty different.
yeah, but it just looks good, man. Like, I'm excited to play it. It's slated for 2024. In some of the articles that I read, it was like it's sometime late in 2023. Now it's, coming out in 2024. Seems like they're really taking their sweet time. They want to release something that's good and done well. I always like supporting smaller indie companies. It's always like, a nice thing to do when the game is good. And so this looks like a nice pairing of, we get to support a cool company while also being able to play an awesome game. So that's exciting. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, if you look at the videos they put out, even in November of 2022, they've got a video like at the very bottom of their X profile. You can see that they've had such a good glow up of the game over just a year period. Like you said, they're really taking the time to refine the game and to make it as good as possible. And nowhere is that more obvious than when you're looking at the gameplay. So basically, at least from what they're doing with Shigure, which is the samurai girl, they have multiple like blades, as George was saying. And as you switch to a blade, it changes your gameplay and how you kind of play. Now, you're still generally a melee character doing the melee thing, but there's like additional mechanics that are added on. And these feel like really compact and refined and very enjoyable kind of little experiences. So the Sakura blade, which is like, I guess, her standard blade, when you hit guys with your little basic combo, it pops out 3 different Sakura blossoms. And then you could do that twice and you have 6 blossoms on the field. And then you can use that charge up counter hit, which you don't have to use as a counter. It can be just used as a charge up move. And you can hit those blossoms and they'll explode. The petals will go all over and deal damage. There'll be some like explosion damage, but it's really satisfying to set these up and then to get these charges out and see the explosions and the damage. It's really nice. And then they have this water blade where you can shoot enemies from afar, but it'll deplete like an energy meter. And so you can get this like safe damage in, but you can't use it forever. So you got to switch back to the Sakura blade. And then there's at least 2 other blades we've seen. I don't know what the kind of internal mechanics were of it, but basically if they're anything like the first 2 blades that I tried, it's going to feel really tight. It's going to feel really satisfying. And if they're going to carry that logic over to the other characters, and they'll probably have a couple of options for gameplay as well, seriously, I cannot express how impressed I am and how surprising it is that this game's being slept on. I really think this will be maybe not the biggest game of 2024, but it'll definitely be, at least for now, in like my top 10 of most enjoyable to play games of 2024, I would expect.
Wow. Wow, that's quite high praise. I mean, I like kind of how you explained the interplay between the two different blades that you got to try out and all that stuff. And it really sounds like they're getting a lot of mileage out of the things that the blade can do. That's something that Dragalia Lost did really well. You described this as maybe Dragalia Lost 2. Dragalia Lost was really good about like taking like a simple thing that a character can do and just getting like a ton of mileage out of that.
True.
And so this is something that it sounds like you can do with the blades. Like, you know, yeah, you release like a blossom that can then explode, but the real strategy and like, you know, the high level gameplay comes like you got a plan where you're going to drop these things and when you're going to explode them and all that stuff. And it's just indicative of the fact that they're really thinking about and really planning what the move sets of each blade's gonna be, how it's gonna interact with the other blades, how it's gonna interact with the enemies and just the bosses in general. And I don't know, like it bodes well for the game, I think. It makes me excited to check out what other kind of blades we can use, what other move sets the other characters are gonna have. It's exciting as a whole.
It's great to see a game where it doesn't feel like, okay, the play style feels like it was developed in a vacuum, whereas, you know, a vacuum separate from the enemies, right? And so like, yeah, like you're playing this like style and it works with the enemies and, you know, video game. But when you have a company that's really trying to pay a lot of attention to like, how do we intertwine how the pacing of the gameplay works with the pacing of how the enemies work and how you have to interact with them, that really starts to create something very satisfying. That's like a big X factor thing. There are a lot of X factors you can include in a game, and this is definitely an X factor that they're hitting on. And so they have like a dodge cooldown. They've got a 3 charge dodge system where you can do 3 dodges, and like it just felt really synergistic. Like everything just really felt like they worked well together. The boss has like really cool mechanics. There's multi-phases even. Honestly, I hope they have like 100 bosses. Not really, obviously, but I hope they have so many bosses that you can just really sink your teeth into. It looks like, I don't know how they're going to do like the story stuff, because it looks like there's a lot of roguelike type elements where you can like pick buffs. And so you can have like these augments on top of these really refined mechanics. You can augment it in the way that you want to have it. And so I don't know how that works with like the story and the characters, but there's also ways of like making the difficulty more intense. They had like a bunch of options when I went into my first run where you can like up the damage and other aspects of the game. And I mean, it just seems like they're really thinking about, okay, what's going to make this very specific experience as refined and enjoyable as possible. They're not trying to make all of this like an open world game. Obviously, I'm going to the biggest example that I can think of, but they're really not thinking about let's do all of these things and add crafting and whatever else the heck. No, they're just saying let's really, really refine this one experience and make it awesome. And it absolutely comes clearly across when you play the game. It's awesome.
Yeah, it comes across even when you just watch it. Like, that's some of the comments that we got in the, well, we didn't get those exact comments, you know, fully fleshed out while watching the stream and everything. But a lot of the comments that we got were like, oh, this looks sick. Oh, this looks so good. Like, you could just tell when watching the gameplay, oh, no, this isn't just, you know, your own, like, your regular run-of-the-mill preview of a game or demo of a game. Like, it looks really good in the state that it's in. And like, speaking to some of the glow up stuff that you mentioned last time, like some of their old videos do look really mobile-y, but you know, it's clear that they've really put a lot of effort behind the game. And 2024 is going to be exciting. There's a lot of games coming out in 2024, and this is one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most so far.
Yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to be game of the year. I'm not saying it's even going to be maybe even top 5. But yeah, like I really do think this will be one of the nice treats of 2024 that comes out, and it's just like, it could even be a game that I come back to month after month and I just play it in my downtime because it's just an enjoyable experience to go through the levels. So we'll just have to see, but I really like the way it's shaping up. We'll try and see if we can get some exclusive stuff for this game. Maybe we could talk to the developers since we were there with them, and so we'll have to see. But yeah, it would be great to be able to feature this some more on the channel. But at the very least, we wanted to highlight it because honestly, it's just not getting enough attention for how good it is. I'll be real.
Yeah, no, you described the game perfectly. It's like a nice little treat kind of a game in between the giant releases. It is like a perfect slot in between those, and yeah. it's criminally under talked about, if that's even a word. It's just, it needs to be talked about more. I'm glad you got to play it. I'm glad we got to highlight it on the stream. And I'm glad we're able to make this video showing off some of the exclusive footage that you got at the Tokyo Game Show itself. If anyone wants to watch the video itself without our commentary, we'll put a link down below in the description to that unlisted video. But with that, is there anything else you want to say about the game?
No, I really hope that they can get a demo out at some point, because I think that'll really sell the game. I don't think just seeing it will properly explain how tight and enjoyable it is to play. So getting a demo, I mean, I don't know what their internal goals are, but I really hope that getting a demo ASAP is high on that list, because once people start getting this in their hand, I think we'll see this get way, way more popular.
If there's a demo, you can bet that we'll be covering it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can bet that we'll probably either stream it or do another discussion video about
Absolutely.
it then. And with that, we'll see you in the next one.
All right, see you, everybody.